Do your contracts have holes in them? We're talking about ways that people are trying to finagle their way out of agreements. And this is what's coming up a lot lately in the heat of the market. Most commonly, it's sellers' representatives trying to find ways to get out of a contract because they've received another better offer. And so you need to be aware of all the most common mistakes that we're seeing there right now. As always, that's what our staff is here for. That's what we help you guys do, is to protect you and protect your clients. And sometimes when we're auditing for little missed initials and things like that, this is when those things show up, is when they get challenged or when they get pushed to court, basically. So we're going to talk about the kind of most common holes in contracts that we're seeing right now. So one is exactly that. First one is missing initials. So contract law and the way the contracts are formed ever since changes back in 2017 in Alberta are that the area contracts we're talking about here is that all parties must sign, initial all changes, countering back and forth, and then when it's been final initialed, like the last change has been initialed by all the last party agreeing, and it's been communicated back, emailed or faxed back to the other agent, that is when it's pending, that moment. So point in time is very, very important here, and timeliness is very important. So if you miss an initial but you communicated it back, they can reject that because there's a change that wasn't signed off on, and so it can be challenged. And again, if you totally miss a whole page or miss signatures or anything big like that, it can be challenged. Location of signing is also a reason that they can challenge the contract. Now, and I bring these points up, obviously every client situation is different and they need to seek legal advice in each scenario, but these are areas that it's a hole in the contract that could be challenged. So make sure you have location of signing, the city, and you have a time as well as the date of signing. So the timestamp issue we're running into is with AuthentiSign, I believe. So the software at a lower level user pay basis, I think it is, doesn't have a timestamp option. So you can use a text field and fill the time in if you need, but both sides, representing both sides, you want timestamps on the contract, location of signing, signatures, and initials by any changes. Waiver dates. So that's the other big one, is waiver dates. So you have a condition date coming up, and we've seen a couple of these lately where someone thought we represented the buyer in this case, and the listing agent thought the condition day was the 12th of March, and it was actually the 16th. And so the buyer's agent was negotiating and trying to renegotiate price. The listing agent made the mistake of not communicating and checking the contract, and they went and resold the property. They entered into another contract with our buyer that wasn't deemed valid because of the fact that they were already in contract. And so pay attention to condition dates. Make sure that you put in the appropriate time in there. The kind of default is 9 p.m. that a lot of residential agents use, but pay attention to it, because I know some agents that use 5 p.m. because they don't want to work evenings, so they make the due dates 5 p.m. Because that's business hours, or 6 p.m., or it can be midnight. It can be whatever is in that contract, so pay attention to those dates. The other big one is deposits. So as you'll remember from the the offer to purchase agreement, the seller has the option to void the contract if the deposit is not received in the manner stipulated in the contract by the date stipulated in the contract. So late deposits can kill your deal. And so as a seller, know that if you want to get out of a contract and you haven't got the deposit in time, that's a way you can get out. That's how we dealt with this situation last weekend, one of them. And as a buyer, you got to make sure that they get that deposit. You get confirmation of it being received by the brokerage holding it in trust, or the lawyer, whoever's holding it in trust. You want a confirmation of receipt that's got a name of the person and a timestamp. So that's critical as well. Don't leave holes there for your clients. And just so it's super clear, it's in another video, but once the deposit is received, the seller's option to void is nullified. So it's right in the purchase contract. It says it right underneath the deposits there. And to give you a relevant example, we had one from a couple years ago where our listing agent was bugging the buyer's agent to get the deposit in, really trying to help and really give professional courtesy. And they then received a better offer, 10 grand higher, and the seller wanted to take that better offer. And so the deposit was being delivered to one of our branch locations, and we had staff prepared with the notice. So we did not accept receipt of the deposit, and we delivered the seller void notice that was signed by the seller at the reception desk. So that agent had the time to deliver the deposit on time, and unfortunately lost out for his buyer because he didn't get it in on time. So pay attention to those timelines and those dates on deposits. Lastly is amendments. So if you're making changes to an already accepted contract, do it on an amendment. It's not an addendum. You're not adding something. Addendum is when it's like a synonym for schedule, appendix. It creates a lot of confusion. We have another video talking about amendments and addendums. Amendment equals change. If you're making a change to a contract, amend it. So you would add, the amendment has delete and add section on it. You're going to add something. You're going to delete and add the replacement term if you're changing condition dates or making any other changes to the contract. The importance of doing it that way and not making changes on the original contract, which is like a really, really bad habit, is that then the other party could challenge acceptance. If you're making changes on the original contract, they're saying, well, it was never final accepted. We were still in negotiation. And so this is critical right now, where we're running into these issues where time stamping and communication of those offers is absolutely critical. So otherwise it can be challenged. So we got DocuSign accounts with the office. If you need one, if you don't have one, it's a 50% discount if you go versus if you went direct. And it's a branded, better user experience with a bunch of better features on the contract we negotiated with DocuSign. We had one story the other day from an agent where they knew they were going to be competitive on an offer. They had comps ready for that buyer. They had the DocuSign all prepped and ready to go. And they went from showing the property to accepted offer in a half an hour. They showed it at 8:30 at night and had an accepted offer signed off on at 9 p.m. So, and then there was a bunch of other interest that came in. So again, in that case, we're repping the buyer. What a win that was for our buyer, leveraging those tools and being prepared as an agent, right? So pay attention to those and try to just tighten up any holes in your contracts because people are trying to take advantage right now. So as always, let us know if you have any questions. That's what we're here for.